Hi everyone. Today I want to show you how to make a really quick birthday card with a new paper called Flower and Field, and it is a celebration paper, which means it's only available during celebration and only available free with purchase. So I'm also using a celebration stamp set, Approaching Perfection. It's one of my favorites from the celebration catalog because it's a little bit silly, and I think it's nice to have these kinds of stamp sets in your collection because every once in a while you need a silly card, maybe your brother or something, you know. Anyway, I think these are funny. The bad news is I forgot your birthday. The good news is I forgot your age. I have a brother who's approaching 50. Might be good. Or if things really do get better with age, then you're approaching perfection, might be good. So what if you're a year older, you're fabulous, just a plain happy birthday is always good, candles and a balloon. And then this one's funny, newsflash, birthdays found to be good for health. Studies show that people who have more birthdays live the longest. So it's just a silly little stamp set, and I think it's funny. So anyway, I decided to make a card with it because I have a perpetual calendar, and every year the same thing happens. I get busy during Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I forget to flip it over after November. So then the December birthdays get forgotten every time. So I forgot some December birthdays, and here it is mid-January, actually towards the end of January, and I'm now realizing I never flipped the page on my perpetual calendar, so I missed December and even some Januaries. So, and it happens every year. Every year I have to send belated birthdays to my January and December birthdays. Except for my nephew, because he was born on New Year's Eve, and how hard is that to remember? And my father, but that's because he's my father. Anyway, so here's what we're going to make today. And I think they're cute. And I want to show you this paper because it's really fun. And I want to show you what I did with this die. So here is the paper. I hardly have any left, actually. So I think I have a little bit of all of it. This is all I have left of this one. It's really fun. And normally our paper designer does a lot of watercolor, and she watercolors a piece of paper and then they scan it and it's really beautiful. But this time they're using acrylic, which is different, or maybe it's gouache, one of the two, but it's not watercolor this time. So it's something a little different, but it's still hand painted. And that's really fun. And I love how one side has a flower. So here's the flower on this one with a black background, which is also different. Here's a nice little fun flower. This one's really pretty. I like this one a lot. This is my favorite, and I'm kind of saving it for a scrapbook page. So this one's really pretty. I love the daisies. Here is a really fun one. And then this one with the Bermuda Bay background, which is also very different. And then the backs are more just kind of patterns. So you can use these, you know, on a different type of card that you don't want flowers maybe. Or here's some pretty leaves, little tulips. It's a bold stripe, and then a little crosshatch pattern. So it's a really fun paper collection. And the stamp set, also really fun. And again, it's in the Celebration catalog. Celebration only goes January and February this year, and the offering are free with a $50 purchase. If you spend $100, you could do the stamp set and the paper, or there's a whole bunch of other offerings too. So take a look at the Celebration offering, and it's going to be available. You can check it out. I'll have a link in the video description, and you can check out the Celebration offering. Okay. So what I did to make this card is I cut a piece of this really pretty paper at 5 across, and then it's about 2 1/4. Let's double check that. It's about 3 actually, 3 inches, 3 by 5. And then I cut a piece of basic black, and this one is 2 inches wide by 5. So they're both 5 inches long. And then I cut two pieces of basic white, and these are cut at 4 by 5 1/4. So you need 2 of these, one for the inside, one for the outside, and then you've got your black and your pattern. And then I'm using a card base of Pool Party. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is cut my curve, and I'm doing that with a die from, let me show you the dies. It's called curvy dies. These are called curvy dies. there's a stamp set that goes with it that has some flowers, some leaves, some pretty little birds. But I'm just using this one die from that collection, and it gives this fun little curve. There are a couple other dies that give a nice little edge, so if you have other edgelet dies, this would be fun. I love the curve on this one though. So you're going to use that on your basic black. And when cutting it, if you'll notice on my cards, you know, you want to have it enough so that you can still have a lot of black underneath, because if you cut it too high up like so, that'll be good because then you have enough black. But if you go down here too low, you know, depending on how much you cut this, you want to make sure that the two together equal 3 3/4. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this about, I'm going to bring it up a little bit, about there. And move this to where you like your curve. I want there to be a bigger swoop, so I'm going to kind of go like right there. And I'm going to go ahead and add that to my cutting machine. Now save this little piece. We're going to use that. It's a fun little piece. And then here is so I just used my little brush here to get these little pieces out that were stuck in the die, and I did it like this, but I did it over my garbage can and you couldn't see what I was doing. So anyway, get all your little pieces out of your die, and then we're going to want to make our matching swerve on our pattern paper. So the difference here is that this die cuts a pattern, and you could layer these on top of each other to try to match your pattern and then just discard the leftover. But when I did that a couple times, I didn't quite get good cuts on my little tiny eyelets here. So it's best, I think, to not do them at the same time. But then it's hard to match up your swirl, your little curve. So what I decided was easiest, for me anyway, is I flip this over, and I know that I want my finished width here to be 3 3/4 because I want a little bit of a white border. So I put this on my grid paper, and I love working on grid paper. I think it's nice to kind of not worry about getting the mess on your table, and you know, if it gets gluey, you just tear it off. So I also use it for the lines, to line things up. So I've got it on my grid paper here, and I made sure that my entire length is 3 3/4 inches. So and then I'm going to take my little pen here and trace that curve that I made and cut it out. Yeah. Now I have these pieces that go together, and you can save this little piece. That would be fun on the inside too, if you want to go with the black on the inside, or you can do a combination. It's kind of fun. Anyway, so here are my 2 pieces. Now for my outside, like I mentioned, I wanted this to go here, and I wanted to have a white border around. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down. And then I need this to match up. There we go. And that's just going to go straight down on my pool party here. Okay, for my happy birthday, I'm grabbing a scrap piece of pool party, and I'm just going to stamp that happy birthday. And then I want to cut that out with my postage stamp punch. Now this is a nicely sized stamp. You probably have lots of punches that'll work with this. I like to stamp first because then I can kind of play with where this is in the punch. And I want it to be centered but slightly down a little more. So I want more space up at the top because I'm going to stick a cutout flower there. Okay. And then I wanted some ribbon, and I thought white would be nice against all this black and the little white accents, so I thought this ribbon is pretty. It's the metallic edged white satin ribbon, and that silver edge is really pretty. It has a nice little sparkle. So I'm just going to make a bow. And attach that with a glue dot. Like so, and then we're going to put our happy birthday right on top. So this is kind of a puffy knot, so I need dimensionals to kind of bring this happy birthday up. And some ribbon lays flatter than others. This one happens to make kind of a stiff knot. I don't know if it's the metallic edging on that. So when I make put my greeting on top, I really want to make sure it's high enough. So I'm going to actually double stack my dimensionals. And put one on either side of that knot. There, and now it doesn't have a weird bump on it. So there we go. And now I'm going to cut out, so take a look at this paper. There's all kinds of fun little flowers in here that you can cut out. And I kind of want this orange one here. Actually, I might want one of these too. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. I'll put the video on fast forward while I cut that out, so you don't have to slowly watch me cut. Okay, so I've got a few little flowers here. I want to add one or two to this little top. And I'll put that down with a glue dot since it's so small. And then on the inside, I want to do something similar. First, I'm going to stamp my greeting. In case I make a boo-boo, then you can always flip your paper over. And I'm going to bias it towards the side here. I don't want to go straight down in the middle because I'm going to decorate the left edge here. So I'm going to go slightly right. And then remember, we had these little cutout pieces, and you can decide, do you want to use the colorful piece or do you want to use the black piece, or you could use both actually and layer. I think I'm going to stick with just the black. And I made a few of these cards. I think I have one that's a little thicker because I went further over than I intended. So I'm going to use this one. So now this was at 5 inches, so now you need to cut it at 4 because we're going to go, instead of going across the long way, we're going to go short. So I'm going to cut this to 4 inches. And add that, and then we can add these cute little flowers. Aren't they adorable? All right, there's our middle. Let's stick that down. All right, there's our middle, or inside, outside, both super adorable. And here are a couple others. Really fun. I hope that you'll take a look at the celebration offering and consider the Flower and Field Designer Series paper as your free with $50 purchase choice, I think it's a really great choice. There's a couple other papers too, so there's really a lot to look at. And again, every $50 you spend, you can choose another item. There's even some items that are bigger stamp and paper combos that you get with a $100 purchase if you want to choose that. There's a lot of great things, and Celebration only has a month and a half left, so take a look at the offering and see what you might want to choose. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.